How does a man rule an empire that is crumbling at the edges, plagued by war and pestilence, while also ruling the chaotic empire within his own mind? This isn't a riddle. It's the daily reality of the last of the 5 good emperors, Marcus Aurelius. He wasn't a god or a sage born with perfect tranquility. He was a man, just like you, who woke up with a racing mind, who felt the sting of betrayal, the weight of responsibility, and the pull of anxiety. Yet, he is remembered not for his turmoil, but for his profound calm, his unwavering center in the heart of a hurricane. How? He didn't have access to modern therapy or productivity apps. He had something far more powerful, a simple, repeatable system, a 2-minute ritual he performed every single morning that armed him against the chaos of the day. And in the next few minutes, I am going to give you that exact blueprint. My name is Cassian. For decades, I built a life and a career on the modern equivalent of the Roman battlefield, the tech industry. I chased success with relentless ferocity. I won. I built companies. I made a fortune. And I achieved every external metric I was told would bring peace. But inside, I was a wreck. My mind was a civil war. Every market downturn, every difficult employee, every personal slight sent me spiraling. My success was a fortress built on sand. Then, it all came crashing down, a burnout so severe it nearly cost me everything. In that wreckage, stripped of my titles and my confidence, I was forced to confront the man I had become, a reactor, not a ruler, of my own inner world. It was then that I stopped looking for new strategies and started looking for timeless ones. I found them in the writings of men who faced stakes far higher than a quarterly earnings report. Men like Marcus Aurelius. I began to practice what he preached, not as an intellectual exercise, but as a daily, non-negotiable drill. And it rebuilt me, piece by piece from the inside out. What I'm sharing with you today is the absolute cornerstone of that transformation. We will dissect the Stoic blueprint for mastering your mind, broken into 3 parts: the morning intention, the midday reset, and the evening review. We will explore why your mind runs rampant and how this ancient framework is the leash to bring it to heal. This isn't about motivational platitudes. This is about engineering a resilient mind. If this system could bring a man clarity while facing the Germanic tribes on the frontier, imagine what it can do for your overflowing inbox, your difficult conversations, and your worries about the future. The question is, are you merely a passive observer of your own thoughts, or are you ready to become the architect of your mind? Before we can build, we must understand the terrain. Why do we overthink? Why does the human mind, this incredible tool capable of creating art and splitting the atom, so often turn against itself, creating endless loops of worry and anxiety? Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." If your thoughts are predominantly chaotic, anxious, and reactive, that is the color your life will take on. This isn't a modern phenomenon. While we blame social media, the 24-hour news cycle, and the pressures of modern work, and they are certainly accelerants, the root cause is timeless. We are wired for survival. Our minds are designed to scan the horizon for threats, to replay past mistakes to avoid future ones, and to simulate potential negative outcomes. This was useful on the savannah. It is crippling in the boardroom. In my years in tech, I saw brilliant minds paralyzed by this. I knew a programmer, one of the most gifted coders I'd ever met, who would spend more time worrying about potential bugs in his code than actually writing it. He would run through 1,000 what-if scenarios, each one triggering a cascade of anxiety. His productivity plummeted, not from a lack of skill, but from a lack of control over his own internal dialogue. He was fighting a war on a battlefield of his own making. Modern statistics tell us over 65 million Americans suffer from this affliction. But it's not a statistic, it's a silent epidemic of lost potential, squandered peace, and chronic stress. It's the reason you lie awake at 3 a.m. replaying a conversation. It's the reason you procrastinate on a project, fearing a negative outcome. It's the mental tax you pay on every single moment of your day. The Stoics understood this profoundly. They viewed the mind not as a peaceful garden, but as a wild frontier that had to be deliberately cultivated and defended. The default state is not calm, the default state is chaos. Calm is a choice. It is a product of training. They knew that an untrained mind is enslaved to every external event, a critical comment from a boss, a dip in the stock market, a rude driver on the road. Each event becomes a stone thrown into the pond of your mind, and you spend the rest of the day dealing with the ripples. The cost is immense: lost focus, damaged relationships, and a constant, draining state of low-grade anxiety. What battle are you currently fighting that exists only between your own ears? How much energy, creative and emotional, are you losing to it every single day? This is where the Stoic blueprint begins, not with wishful thinking, but with a practical, surgical strike at the root of the day's potential chaos: the morning intention setting. This isn't about positive affirmations that feel hollow. This is a 2-minute strategic briefing with yourself. Marcus Aurelius would begin his day by fortifying his mind against the predictable challenges he would face. He knew he would encounter arrogant, dishonest, and difficult people. Instead of hoping he wouldn't, he prepared for it. His ritual, adapted for our modern lives, revolves around 3 powerful questions you must ask yourself before your feet hit the floor. The first question: what is within my control today? Be brutally specific. You cannot control the market, your boss's mood, or the traffic. You can control your response to these things. You can control whether you prepare diligently for a meeting. You can control whether you choose to exercise. You can control whether you speak with kindness to your family. This question immediately cleaves the world into 2 parts: the battlefield and the noise. You focus your energy only on the battlefield. I once mentored a young entrepreneur whose startup was on the verge of collapse. He was panicked, trying to control his investors' emotions, the news cycle, everything. He was exhausted. I had him start his day with only this question. He shifted from trying to stop the storm to focusing exclusively on steering his ship, making the calls he could make, refining the product where he could, and being honest with his team. He couldn't save the company, but he saved himself. He navigated the end with integrity and strength, which became the foundation for his next, far more successful, venture. The second question: what must I accept? This is the antidote to frustration. There are realities you cannot change today. A difficult project deadline is a reality. A past mistake is a reality. A challenging economic climate is a reality. Acknowledging this isn't pessimism, it's pragmatism. It stops you from wasting precious mental energy railing against the unchangeable. You don't have to like it, but you must accept it as the landscape on which you are operating. And the third, most important question: how will I act with virtue and excellence, regardless of what happens? This is your standard. This is you defining your character for the day. Will you be patient when tested? Will you be honest when it's difficult? Will you be disciplined when you feel lazy? You are pre-committing to the person you intend to be. By defining your principles before the chaos hits, you create an anchor. The day will throw waves at you, but you will not be moved. When you combine these 3 questions, you walk into your day not as a potential victim of circumstance, but as a prepared commander. You've surveyed the terrain, accepted the conditions, and resolved your strategy. Have you ever consciously decided who you will be before the day demands it of you? The morning ritual is your shield, but the day's battles will inevitably test it. The momentum of meetings, emails, and unexpected problems can slowly erode your morning resolve. By noon, you can find yourself pulled back into a state of reactivity and mental clutter. This is why the second part of the Stoic blueprint is so critical: the midday reset. Marcus Aurelius, in the midst of commanding legions and managing imperial affairs, would pause. He would pull his mind back from the sprawling complexities of the empire and anchor it in the present moment. His guiding principle, echoed by Seneca, was simple: confine yourself to the present. The midday reset is not a long meditation session. It is a 30-second tactical pause. It's a mental reboot. The goal is to halt the runaway train of anxious thoughts about the future and ruminations about the past. I teach this to executives who live by their calendars, scheduled down to the minute. I tell them to set a silent alarm for noon. When it goes off, they are to stop, wherever they are, whatever they are doing, close their eyes if possible, or simply lower their gaze, and for just 30 seconds, perform this simple drill. First, take one deep breath, in through the nose, out through the mouth. This is a physiological reset, calming the nervous system. Second, ask yourself, What am I doing right now? Not what you should be doing or what you have to do next. What is the single task at hand? Writing an email, listening to a colleague, walking to the next meeting. This act of naming grounds you in the immediate reality. Third, remind yourself of one core principle you set for yourself in the morning. Patience, focus, integrity. You simply bring that word to the front of your mind. That's it. One breath, one observation, one reminder. The entire process takes less time than reading a text message. A mentee of mine, a surgeon, found this practice transformative. The pressure in an operating room is immense, and a single mistake can have devastating consequences. He described his mind often racing ahead to the next step, or worrying about a potential complication, even while performing a critical task. He began practicing the midday reset between surgeries, a simple 30-second pause in his private office. He said it was like wiping a foggy lens clean. It broke the chain of anxiety, brought his focus back to the present moment, and allowed him to enter the next procedure with a clear, calm mind. It didn't remove the pressure, but it changed his relationship to it. He was no longer a victim of the momentum, he was a conscious participant. Where in your day could you insert a 30-second pause to reclaim your focus? What is the cost of not doing so? You began the day as a strategist, and you must end it as one. The third pillar of the Stoic framework is the evening review. If the morning is for preparation, the evening is for assessment. This is arguably the most crucial step for long-term growth, yet it's the one most people skip. They finish their day, exhausted from the battle, and distract themselves with entertainment until they fall asleep, only to wake up and repeat the same chaotic cycle. This is like a general fighting a battle and never studying the results. It guarantees you will make the same mistakes again. Marcus Aurelius ended his day with his journal, not as a diary of events, but as a ledger of his own mind and actions. He was performing a self-audit to refine his character. The process is not about self-flagellation or dwelling on your failures. It is a calm, objective review. It is about converting the day's raw data into wisdom. This practice is most powerful when it is physically written down. The act of moving a pen across paper forces a different level of thinking than the chaotic swirl of thoughts inside your head. It externalizes the information, allowing you to look at it as an objective analyst rather than a participant. Again, we can use a framework of 3 simple, powerful questions. First, what did I learn about myself today? Perhaps you learned that you have less patience than you thought when a project was delayed. Perhaps you learned that you feel a surge of energy after a candid conversation. Perhaps you discovered a new trigger for your anxiety. You are not judging this, merely observing. You are a scientist studying your own operating system. The self-awareness is the bedrock of all personal growth. Second, where did I waste mental or emotional energy? Did you spend an hour arguing in your head with a coworker after the conversation was already over? Did you spend your commute worrying about a what-if scenario that never materialized? Did you get drawn into a pointless online debate? This question shines a harsh but necessary light on the leaks in your mental fortress. By identifying where you squander your most precious resource, your attention, you can begin to patch those leaks. Third, how can I improve tomorrow? Based on the answers to the first 2 questions, you formulate a single, small, actionable improvement. Not a vague resolution like I'll be better. Be specific. Tomorrow, when I feel that same frustration with the project delay, I will take a 5-minute walk before I respond. Or, tomorrow, if my coworker makes a critical comment, I will pause and consider their intent before I react. You are creating a direct feedback loop for your character. I had a client, a sales director, who was brilliant at his job, but his temper was damaging his team. His evening review consistently revealed he wasted immense energy getting angry over small mistakes. His one improvement was simple. When I feel my anger rise, I will ask one clarifying question before stating my opinion. Within a month, his team's morale and his own sense of calm had completely transformed. What is one pattern from today that, if left unexamined, will repeat itself tomorrow? Underpinning this entire 3-part system, the morning intention, the midday reset, and the evening review, is one foundational, world-altering principle. It is the central axiom of Stoic thought, and if you can truly internalize it, it will change everything. Marcus Aurelius articulated it perfectly. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. Read those words again. This is not a suggestion, it is a statement of fact about the nature of reality. For the overthinker, for the anxious mind, this is the master key that unlocks the prison door. The untrained mind believes its peace is contingent on external events. I'll be calm when this project is finished. I'll be happy when I get that promotion. I won't be angry if people would just drive properly. This mindset makes you a perpetual victim. Your internal state is a puppet, and the strings are being pulled by everyone and everything around you. You have outsourced your well-being. The Stoic insight is that this entire premise is false. Events are just events. They are neutral. They have no inherent power to disturb you. It is your judgment about the event, your interpretation of it, that causes the disturbance. The traffic jam isn't making you angry. Your belief that the traffic jam should not be happening, and that it is a personal injustice, is what creates the anger. Let me give you two examples, one ancient, one modern. In the midst of his reign, Marcus Aurelius faced the Antonini plague, a pandemic that killed millions, including possibly his co-emperor. He could not control the plague. It was a brutal, external reality. A lesser man would have been paralyzed by fear or despair. But Marcus focused on his mind. He focused on his response. He organized logistical support. He projected calm and order. He sold off imperial treasures to fund the relief. He accepted the reality of the event, but refused to surrender his own virtue and reason to it. He found his strength not in stopping the plague, but in commanding his response to it. Now, a modern parallel. I worked with a business owner whose entire industry was disrupted by a new technology. Almost overnight, his revenue evaporated. His first reaction was panic, anger, and blame. He was a victim of the market. He was obsessed with the outside event. Through our work, he began to apply this principle. He couldn't control the new technology. He couldn't control his competitors, but he could control his mind. He shifted from "this shouldn't be happening" to "this is happening. Now what?" That simple shift in perspective freed up immense mental energy. He realized his power lay in his response. He ended up pivoting his business, leveraging his industry knowledge to consult for companies that were using the new technology. He not only survived, he thrived. He found his strength. Can you identify one area in your life where you have surrendered your power, believing an external event is the cause of your inner turmoil? What would happen if you truly, deeply realize that your mind is the only thing you ever truly have power over? We have explored the philosophy, the framework, and the core principle. Now, we forge it into a habit. Wisdom unapplied is merely trivia. This entire system is useless if it remains an idea in your head. The goal is to make it an automatic, non-negotiable part of your operating system. And it begins with the 2-minute ritual tomorrow morning. This is not something to try when you have time. The time must be made. The discipline must be enforced. This is the first act of commanding your mind. Here is your step-by-step guide. Tonight, before you go to sleep, place a notebook and a pen by your bed. This is crucial. Do not use your phone. The physical act of writing is key, and you want to avoid the immediate pull of digital distractions. Next, set your alarm for 2 minutes earlier than you normally would. Not 20, not 10, just 2. This is such a small barrier to entry that you have no excuse to refuse it. This isn't about sacrificing sleep, it's about investing in clarity. When the alarm goes off tomorrow, do not hit snooze. That is your first test of discipline. Sit up, open the notebook, and before you check your phone, before you think about the day's tasks, you will answer the 3 questions. Step 1, right at the top of the page. What is within my control? Underneath, list 2 to 3 things. Your attitude, the effort you put into your main task, whether you listen more than you speak. Keep it simple and actionable. Step 2, below that, right? What must I accept? List 1 to 2 unshakable realities of the day. A tight deadline, a difficult commute, a pre-existing conflict. Acknowledge them on paper. Step 3, finally, right? How will I act? Choose 1 or 2 virtues you will embody. Patience, discipline, courage, kindness. This is your personal standard for the day. That's it. The ritual is complete. It will take you less than 120 seconds. Do not overcomplicate it. Do not strive for perfect prose. This is for you alone. The purpose is not to create a masterpiece, but to prime your mind. What can you expect? After 7 days of this practice, you will notice a small but significant change. You will feel a bit more centered, a little less reactive. You will catch yourself before you get pulled into useless worry. After 30 consecutive days, the change will be profound. The neural pathways of reactivity will have begun to weaken. The pathways of intentional, calm response will have strengthened. You are not just going through the motions, you are actively rewiring your brain. You are building the foundations of an iron mind. Will you grant yourself 2 minutes tomorrow to begin laying the first stone? The path to an unbreakable mind is not found in a single moment of insight, but in the disciplined repetition of small, correct actions. The 2-minute ritual is your first, most important action. It is the point of leverage that, when applied consistently, can move the entire weight of your anxiety and mental chaos. The choice, as always, is yours. You can finish this video, feel a momentary flicker of inspiration, and then allow the inertia of old habits to pull you back into the familiar patterns of overthinking. Or, you can make a decision, a commitment. Your action step is simple. I am not asking you to change your entire life. I am challenging you to change the first 2 minutes of your morning, tomorrow. That is all. Before you sleep tonight, put that notebook by your bed. Set your alarm 2 minutes earlier. When it rings, perform the ritual. Ask the 3 questions. What can I control? What must I accept? How will I act? Then, I want you to come back here and comment below. Tell me which of those 3 questions hits the hardest for you. Is it the struggle to let go of what you can't control? Is it the difficulty in accepting reality? Or is it the challenge of defining who you want to be? Engaging with this is your first act of accountability. Share your experience, and after a week, come back and share what you've noticed. This is how we move from passive learning to active building. This ritual is the first line of defense in constructing what the Stoics called the inner citadel, a fortress of the mind so strong and well prepared that no external event, no matter how catastrophic, can breach its walls. Building that citadel is a process, and we have only just begun.